Have you ever felt just completely stuck at work? Like you've hit an absolute brick wall.
Oh, I think we've all been there, right?
Yeah, I mean, just picture this. It's Monday morning, you're standing outside the main conference room, and you have to give this huge presentation.
Sounds terrifying.
It is. Your hands are freezing, your heart is just pounding out of your chest, and deep down there's this little voice whispering, I'm just not a natural public speaker.
Yeah, that classic inner critic.
Exactly. Or, maybe it's when you're trying to learn a third language or figure out some complicated new software the company just bought.
Oh, the dreaded new software rollout.
Right. You just stare at the screen, let out this huge sigh, and tell yourself, look, I just don't have a tech-oriented brain.
Which is such a common thing to tell ourselves.
It really is. And if you're listening to this and nodding along, you are definitely not alone.
Not at all.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Our core mission here is to figure out if this buzzy concept, the growth mindset, can it actually physically change your brain?
That's the million-dollar question.
It really is. And we're pulling from some incredible sources today to get to the bottom of it. We've got Professor Carol Dweck's famous research from Stanford, deep dives into neuroplasticity.
Which is fascinating stuff, by the way.
So fascinating. Plus, we've got real-world business case studies and some really interesting research summaries looking specifically at the Thai workforce from PR and Inspira.
Yeah, and welcome to the deep dive, everyone. I'm so glad to be here because what we're doing today isn't just reciting some self-help buzzwords or toxic positivity.
Right, no fluff today.
Exactly.
Oh.
We're going straight into the hard science. We want to look at how a tiny belief about your own potential can actually dictate your learning behaviors and even your split-second decisions.
And the goal, obviously, is to decode all this science so you can actually use it in your daily life and your career.
Precisely. It's all about practical application.
Okay, so before we get into, how beliefs change behavior, I feel like we need to lay some groundwork. We need to understand the biological reality of the brain and what these two mindsets actually mean.
That's a great place to start.
So the sources divide this into two very clear camps. What is the fundamental difference here?
Well, let's start with the first camp, which is the fixed mindset.
Okay.
People with a fixed mindset operate on this core belief that intelligence, talent, and basically all your capabilities are innate. They're permanent.
Like you're born with a certain amount and that's it.
Exactly. It's like you're dealt a hand of cards at birth, and you just have to play that exact hand forever.
Wow. Okay.
They think, if I'm born smart, I'll be good at things.
Yeah.
If I'm not naturally good at math, I will never, ever be good at math.
That sounds incredibly limiting.
It is. And then on the exact opposite side, you have the growth mindset.
Right, the star of the show.
Right. This is the belief system that your skills, your intelligence, your abilities, they can actually be developed over time.
Through hard work.
Through consistent effort, yes, but also, and this is crucial, through using the right strategies. It's not just blind effort.
Okay, so that sounds like a purely psychological thing, right? Just a shift in attitude.
Yeah.
But the sources talk a lot about neuroscience. How does the biology actually back this up?
This is where it gets really cool. So historically, a lot of people, even scientists, thought the human brain basically stopped developing once you hit adulthood.
Like it just sets concrete.
Yeah, exactly. But modern neuroscience has totally debunked that. We now understand this biological process called neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
Right. There's this amazing scientist, Marion Diamond, and her discoveries provided huge evidence that the brain does not just freeze after childhood.
Really? It keeps changing.
It does. It functions incredibly similarly to a muscle.
Oh, interesting.
Every time you try to learn something new, or even when you're just struggling to solve a tough problem, the neurons in your brain actually form new networks. They connect to each other.
So literally, physical changes are happening in my head while I'm struggling with an Excel sheet.
Literally. And the more you practice or the more challenges you face, those neural networks become denser and stronger. The signals travel faster.
That is wild.
So your brain's physical structure is literally molding itself to whatever you're trying to learn.
Talking about age and learning, the sources mention this old Thai proverb that translates to, young twigs are easy to bend, but old twigs are hard to bend.
Yes, I saw that.
And it's such a classic excuse, right? You hear older professionals say, oh, I'm too old to learn this new software. Leave it to the young kids.
Oh, it's the perfect cultural example of a fixed mindset. It's just deeply ingrained in us to think our adaptability just evaporates as we age.
But the science says otherwise.
Completely. Based on neuroplasticity, that old twig concept is scientifically false. A brain at 40, 50, or 60 years old is still highly capable of building new neural pathways. As long as you keep stimulating it, it remains, bendable.
Okay, let me see if I can try an analogy here to unpack this.
Go for it.
So having a fixed mindset is basically like believing your brain is an old smartphone, right? Like the hardware's locked forever, you only have so much storage, and it can only run so fast.
Exactly.
But having a growth mindset is realizing that, wait, you can actually upgrade the operating system. You can download new apps, learn new skills, no matter how old the phone itself is. Does that make sense?
That is a brilliant way to look at it. Yes, you can always install a new OS.
Nice.
But and this is the big question the research tackles. If everyone's brain is this upgradable smartphone, why do so many people just stay stuck? Why don't they download the new apps?
Right. If we all have this supercomputer muscle brain, why are we still saying we can't do things?
Well, the sources point out that the root of the problem isn't the brain itself. It's the environment we're raised in, specifically how we are praised and how we're taught to handle failure.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me and honestly a little uncomfortable.
Oh, why is that?
Because I am definitely that person who praises my team by saying things like, wow, you are an absolute genius, or you're just naturally gifted at this.
Yeah, that's super common.
I always thought I was being a great leader, building their confidence. But the sources are actually saying I might be doing them a massive disservice. Like, how does praising them hurt them?
I know it sounds so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But there's this landmark study by Mueller and Dweck that specifically looked at how praise affects us.
Okay.
When you tell a colleague they are smart or a genius, you are basically slapping a label on their forehead.
And labels are bad.
In the short term, sure, they feel great.
Okay.
But long term, it creates this intense psychological fear.
Fear of what? Not being a genius anymore.
Exactly. They start thinking, if I take on a really hard project and fail, my boss is going to realize I'm not actually a genius.
Oh, wow. So they become terrified of looking stupid.
Right. So to protect that genius label, they stop taking risks. They avoid hard challenges and only pick easy tasks that guarantee they'll look smart.
That's wild. I'm literally creating a fixed mindset in them by trying to compliment them.
Yeah, without even realizing it.
Okay, so I need to fix this immediately. How does the research say we should be praising people?
The fix is surprisingly simple. You just have to shift the focus of your praise from who they are to the process they used.
The process, okay.
Right. Instead of praising their innate intelligence, you praise their effort, their strategy, their persistence.
Give me an example.
So instead of you're a genius, you say something like, that project was incredibly complex, but the way you analyzed the data and adjusted your strategy to figure it out was fantastic. You clearly worked really hard on that.
Okay, I see the difference.
Yeah, that process-based praise tells their brain that success comes from tools and effort, which are things they can control and repeat.
Right, they own the process. But wait, what happens when they inevitably mess up? Because the sources talk a lot about failure. How do the two mindsets react when things just go wrong?
This is the clearest dividing line between the two.
Okay.
For someone with a fixed mindset, failure is an identity crisis. Their brain immediately interprets a mistake as, I failed, therefore I am dumb.
It's a reflection of their permanent self.
Exactly. So they feel shame, they try to hide the mistake, and they usually just give up.
And the growth mindset person.
They process the exact same failure completely differently. They see it purely as data.
Just feedback.
Right. It's just a signal that the strategy they used didn't work. They don't think they're stupid. They just think, okay, I need a new approach.
There's that Thomas Edison quote in the sources that perfectly captures this.
Oh, I love that quote.
Yeah, he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Which is the ultimate growth mindset flex.
Truly. But, okay, I want to pivot slightly because as amazing as this growth mindset stuff sounds, the sources highlight that it's gotten a bit twisted lately.
Oh, completely. It's become a bit of a corporate buzzword.
Yeah. We need to separate the actual psychology from what they call the false growth mindset, because it's not just toxic positivity.
Exactly. A false growth mindset happens when people misunderstand the concept and just equate it to being open-minded or just having a sunny, positive attitude.
So let me ask a clarifying question here. Let's say a Thai office worker makes a massive mistake on a financial report.
Okay.
And they just smile and say, oh, well, I have a growth mindset. I'll just try much harder next month. But they don't actually go back and figure out what went wrong. Are they entirely missing the point?
They are missing the entire point. And that is actually dangerous.
Wow.
Because a growth mindset isn't just about praising effort for the sake of effort. Unproductive effort is not the goal.
Right, just banging your head against the wall isn't growing.
Exactly. If your strategy is failing, trying the exact same failing strategy but harder isn't a growth mindset. The real growth mindset is stopping, admitting you don't know something, seeking help, and changing your strategy.
So it requires a lot of self-awareness.
Huge amounts.
Yeah.
And another misconception is that people think they have a 100% pure growth mindset all the time.
Oh, like you're either one or the other.
Right, which isn't biologically true. We are all a mix of both.
How does that work?
Well, it depends on the domain. You might have a massive growth mindset when it comes to, say, playing tennis. You lose a match, you practice harder, you get a coach.
But then at work,
if someone asks you to learn coding, you instantly shut down and say, I'm not a math person.
oh, wow, I totally do that.
We all do.
Yeah.
Recognizing those specific triggers is the real work.
Okay, so we've seen how this plays out on an individual level. But what happens when you try to scale this? Like when you apply this to an entire company or a school system, does it actually work?
It can, but the environment really matters. The sources give a fascinating corporate comparison.
Enron and Microsoft, right?
Yes. So, Enron, before its massive collapse, was famous for having a culture that absolutely worshipped raw talent.
The ultimate fixed mindset culture.
Exactly. They actively weeded out people who weren't deemed geniuses. So what happened? When mistakes were made, employees were terrified to admit it because they'd lose their talent status.
So they hid the mistakes, and the whole company eventually exploded.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with Microsoft under Satya Nadella.
Right. What did he do differently?
He deliberately shifted the entire culture from a culture of know-it-alls to a culture of learn-it-alls.
Oh, I like that phrase. Learn-it-alls.
Isn't it great? He created an environment where employees were actually empowered to collaborate and innovate, and where making a mistake while trying something new was seen as learning, not a failure.
Yeah, which obviously worked out pretty well for Microsoft.
Very well. But we also have hard scientific data on scaling this. There are randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, mentioned in the sources.
Right, the gold standard of research.
Exactly. There was one study by Panescu involving 1,594 students.
It's a huge sample size.
It is. And they found that simply teaching at-risk dropout students about brain plasticity, literally just showing them that their brain is like a muscle, significantly improved their grades.
Just knowing the biology helped them.
Just knowing that they weren't permanently dumb unlocked their motivation.
Okay, but I have a practical pushback here.
Sure.
Let's talk about the Thai workplace culture, which the PIER and Inspira sources specifically look at.
Okay, yeah. Let's look at that context.
What happens if a company slaps growth mindset on their mission statement, right? They put posters on the wall. But the actual culture is extremely hierarchical.
Right.
Junior staff are absolutely terrified to speak up in meetings. They can't admit they don't know something because they'll be scolded by senior management. In that environment, isn't a growth mindset just lip service?
It is 100% lip service.
Oh.
And the research actually backs up your skepticism here.
Really?
Yeah, the sources cite a study by Lim and Bates. They tested 190 students in China, giving them effort-based feedback, trying to instill a growth mindset.
And what happened?
It showed absolutely zero effect on their test scores.
Wait, zero. Why?
Because the environment didn't support it. You can think of the individual's mindset as the seed, but the culture or the environment is the soil.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
If you plant a growth mindset seed in toxic soil, an environment that punishes mistakes and demands perfection, the seed cannot grow. Leaders actually have to create psychological safety, not just hand out posters.
That makes so much sense. You can't just tell people to grow while you're standing on their heads.
Exactly.
Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening, and as promised, we want to distill all of this into 3 practical, actionable takeaways for the working professionals listening right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, takeaway number 1, acknowledge your fixed mindset triggers.
Yes. This is all about listening to that little voice in your head. When you face a new challenge, like a new software at work, and you hear yourself say, I'm just not good at this, you have to catch it.
Don't just accept the voice as a fact.
Exactly. Acknowledge it, and then remind yourself that your brain is plastic. You just haven't learned it yet.
Love that word, yet. Okay, takeaway number 2, focus on strategy, not just raw effort.
Right, because trying the same wrong thing harder doesn't work. If you hit a wall, stop pushing blindly. Ask a colleague for help. Google a new method. Try a completely different approach.
So work smarter, not just harder.
Exactly. It's about adjusting the process.
Okay, and takeaway number 3. Redefine how you view your colleagues.
This is a big one for workplace culture. We have to stop looking at highly successful people as purely gifted.
Because that just breeds jealousy, right? Or it makes us feel intimidated.
Right. Instead of being intimidated by the genius, go up to them and ask them what strategies they used to get there. What were their failures? How did they practice?
Turn their success into a roadmap instead of a weapon against yourself.
That's beautifully put.
Well, thank you so much for breaking all this down with me today. It's really shifted how I'm going to look at my own struggles at work.
It was my pleasure. It's an empowering topic once you really dig into it.
It really is. And to wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, slightly provocative thought based on all the science we just discussed.
Ooh.
If our brains are truly like plastic constantly molding to the actions we take, the strategies we use, and the beliefs we hold, how much of what you confidently call your permanent personality is really just a habit that you haven't decided to break yet?
That is a fascinating question to chew on.
It's something to think about the next time you tell yourself, that's just the way I am. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time.